It's Starblind right here on your Classic Metal Show with Demon Rider.
Yeah.
We're not talking about the guy who's banging Demon in the chat room.
No.
We're probably talking about a being from below.
Right. I don't know. That sounded a whole lot like Rime of the Ancient Mariner.
It did. It was very Iron Maiden-ish.
Very gallopy.
It was.
Yep.
Like that galloping tunes.
Yeah, I like that. Did you see any of the Iron Maiden footage from the new tour?
I know that they kicked the tour off this week, was it?
Yeah, this week, I think.
No, I haven't seen any of the latest footage. No.
The footage looked good, but the set list looked tired to me. It just was like the same set they always play.
Well, how many bands get into that whole formula where they play the same set list for tour after tour?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Iron Maiden, they have so many good songs that they need to mix it up just a little bit.
Well, I would agree, but I think we say that about a lot of bands.
Mm-hmm.
That, some bands that are out on the tour circuit year after year, they don't really change it up a whole lot.
Right. Yeah, they really don't, but I don't know. I just saw it. I was like, thank God that they're not coming here to where I would have invested hundreds of dollars to see the same show I've already seen.
I mean, I love Iron Maiden. I think they're basically a machine.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that those guys do what they do, basically year after year, and they put out yet again, the Iron Maiden formula, as we've always, called it, is that they put out a CD,
mm-hmm.
then they tour, then they start working on a new CD, and then they tour, and then they put out a live album.
Right.
And then they tour and put out a new CD, and then they tour and then put out another live album.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it definitely is like a widget factory with them anymore. But you still love them.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, and I know we've talked about this on the show before.
Mm-hmm.
They've never been a commercial radio band.
Never.
But yet they still are able to sell out like arenas and stadiums and wherever it is that they play.
Sure.
They're still a huge draw, but they're not like AC/DC, who has, 24 radio hits.
No, they have, 2?
Well, let's just put, if you want to call it a radio hit, like Run to the Hills.
Run to the Hills.
Can I play with Madness, maybe?
Even that.
And that's a stretch. I agree.
Run to the Hills, I don't know, maybe not even Wrathchild. That wasn't really a hit.
I don't think Wrathchild.
Yeah, they're like a one-hit.
Yeah, for the most part, when it comes to radio hits,
yeah,
they're a one-hit wonder. But yet somehow, some way, they're able to roll into any major market,
yeah,
and still play an arena.
Yeah. See, Jack will put The Trooper. I don't think The Trooper was a radio hit either.
It was in there, but was it huge? I don't know about that.
Nah. No, Wasted Years, no.
No.
None of those albums, Power Slave and Somewhere in Time and those records, those didn't have any radio hits. Iron Maiden is one of those bands that their albums are so good that the fans just buy them regardless.
Yeah, but that is an amazing feat that without radio play per se,
mm-hmm.
they've been as successful as they've been.
Right. Yeah, and Pantera's another one. Pantera had one radio hit? 2?
Yeah, I would agree. 3? Yeah, I would agree.
I mean, what would the 3 be? Cowboys, Cemetery Gates, I'm Broken, or This Love, or probably This Love?
Boy, This Love. I don't think I'm Broken. I mean, I love that song, but I don't think that was like a huge radio hit.
Yeah, I know it was an MTV Headbangers Ball hit. But, it's probably not a radio one. Probably This Love. I would say This Love, Cowboys, and Cemetery Gates. And even Cemetery Gates, I don't think was a huge radio hit because it's like 6 minutes long or something. So, they obviously had a huge career. Walk, Was Walk a radio hit?
I think so.
All right, so Walk. So 4. Drag the Waters. Stop it.
No.
Drag the Waters.
Drag the Waters some more.
Yeah, that's not even a good song. I don't like that song very much. Yeah, there's 3-4 hits. That's it. You know, for them, and they were obviously humongous. And there's been bands like that. I know they went on to have a bunch of radio hits, but up before the Black Album, Metallica didn't have any radio hits. None. I mean, what were the radio hits before? And they were huge.
Just one.
Yeah, one was the only song, and that was barely a radio hit because it was fucking 8 minutes long.
And the only other one I could think of is like Fade to Black.
Nah, that wasn't a radio hit. Specialty radio, maybe. That never charted. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess metal fans, though, they latch onto their bands a little tighter.
They do, but again, I think Iron Maiden in this day and age even,
sure,
they're an anomaly.
They are an anomaly, and 2 reasons why they've stayed as good. One, even though the albums since Bruce came back have not been great, they haven't been terrible either.
They're I think they're overdone because I know a couple of the ones that we kind of sampled here on the show when they came out. Mm-hmm. Like some of the intros and stuff, like some of the songs were extended for really no apparent reason.
Yeah. They don't need a 9-minute version of everything. You know, and that's been the Iron Maiden thing since Bruce came back, is these long songs that they just don't need. But their albums are still, I mean, I don't love Final Frontier, or I thought Book of Souls was pretty good. Brave New World, I don't think I'll ever listen to again. Dance of Death, I liked Passchendaele off of that one. But I can't even name another song on it, but it still wasn't bad. None of these records are bad, but they still come out and just destroy live. And that's been the other thing with that's part of the Iron Maiden, mystique, is that from day one, they have been a dominantly good band. I've never seen a bad Maiden show. Have you?
No.
Never. I mean, their worst show, the worst show I saw was the one that MOL and I went to. And half the reason it was bad was because we had fan club tickets that were first row, and the first row was fucking obscured by the stage. They built boxes on the stage so we couldn't fucking see where they were half the time. It was fucked up.
The stage was just too high.
It was too high, and we were so close that we couldn't see. It was like a castle or something. It was on the Somewhere Back in Time tour, the Greatest Hits Somewhere Back in Time album.
Right.
But they built the stage to be like a castle, and it was boxed, and it was at Blossom. So you know how Blossom's stage is kind of, I'll say oblong, I guess, for like an oval. Well, they blocked off a big piece of the oval, so that where we were sitting was we were looking at behind the setup, a big wall that went straight up.
Yeah, you had to have a full front, full on view of it to see it, but if you were at the sides, you were, blocked off by,
Yeah, we couldn't see shit unless the only time we could see anything was when Dickinson, there was a riser way in the back that was real tall, and when Dickinson went up there waving the flag and shit, we could see that. And if he came all the way to the front of the stage and leaned into the crowd, we could see him there. And that was it. We ended up walking back to the lawn because we couldn't fucking see from our first row seats. It was really disappointing. So that was the only time that I ever saw that was really not fun. But that has no bearing on the performance they were giving. But they always kick ass. Even the Blaze years live, they were kick ass. They've always been a kick ass live band, and I think that's what's carried them more than anything.
Yeah.
I mean, how else do you get away with having a guy that's not even plugged in on your fucking stage? Unless the other guys are so amazing that you just deal with that fucking ass clown. Tiptoeing around.
Are you talking about Yana Gears?
Nothing makes me more enraged than, as much as I love fucking Iron Maiden, when I'm watching a show and you got Yannick Gears tiptoeing around the stage and flipping the guitar around his back while he tiptoes around. It's like, just stop it. Just leave the stage. Become the manager. Hand the guys a towel when they come off. You're not really playing. And if you are really playing, you're still not really contributing. So stop it. Be happy that you've made millions of dollars being a fucking flunky. A third wheel on a fucking unicycle. Stinks.
Yeah, you're not one of the real guys, man.
So get out of there. They have all the real guys. So get him out of there. And I don't want to hear about Paul Di'Anno either. Stop it. Paul Di'Anno was not that good.
Why are you even here?
Yeah, beat it. Go play your gig from the wheelchair. Yeah, look at that picture of him. Look, he's got his mouth open. All he needs to do is turn around and blow Eddie. Fuck is that? Jesus. Doesn't that look like what he's about to do? Just turn around and gobble him up?
Pretty much.
What a fucking queer picture that is. God, how'd you like to have that of you floating around the internet? Jesus Christ, getting a ball job in the back of your skull.
Yeah, that's what it looks like, too.
Gross. All right, well. So what do we want to talk about? I know it wasn't Iron Maiden.
All right, well, we have this podcast that you apparently discovered.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about what it is we're going to hear here.
All right, well, since we talked last week about Blog Talk Radio,
yeah,
I just said, what the fuck? Let me look on Blog Talk Radio. I'm going to give this 5 minutes of time.
And what surprises me is that Blog Talk, after all these years, are still going.
Oh, they're still going. There's still a million shows out there. So at first, I looked two ways. First, I looked for metal, and I came across this show. And I have another show banked that I'm going to do, but I want to get this guy on the show, actually. There's another show that I want more than anything to have him and you. I swear to God, if I get him on the show, I'm going to say hello in the intro, and I'm going to turn my microphone off and just listen. This guy is named, and you can look him up on Blog Talk Radio, the Redneck Liberal, the Liberal Redneck. And he is, it's Larry the Cable Guy, but he's a hardcore lib.
Okay.
Hates Republicans, hates Donald Trump, hates everything about Republicans. And I so want to have him on the show to talk to you.
All right.
But I mean, I listened to his show for probably an hour, and the level of stupidity was enraging, which made it even more a reason that I want him on the show, because you'll decimate him. You will absolutely, and he will hate you like no other because you are a fucking Trump guy.
Well, I thought the liberal left was supposed to be tolerant and accepting and
they are
all inclusive.
They are. If you support their exact points.
Oh, you mean as long as you see things their way?
Yes, of course, dude. What else would you do?
All right. Well, I just thought that they were all inclusive.
They are. There he is, the liberal red. There he is. But you'll love that guy, dude.
Yeah. He's an old 60s hippie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's a CSN guy.
But you'll love him. You should listen. I'm not one to promote Blog Talk Radio very often, but you'll laugh out loud listening to this. So I will encourage you and anybody that's a really hardcore Trump guy to go and listen to the Liberal Redneck. He's something else.
Well, again, for those of you who are not familiar with Blog Talk Radio,
mm-hmm.
I guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't looked into this in years.
Yeah.
Not since the Kay and Abby days.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently on Blog Talk Radio, they give you some space to where you upload some music if you're a music-based show.
Correct.
And then you basically do your show over a telephone.
Correct.
Okay. So I guess if you want a good sounding show, maybe you might use Skype with a real microphone or something.
Well, nobody seems to be doing that.
Well, but that's my take on it.
Yeah.
Is that possible?
I would have been, if you had a Skype number.
That's what I'm saying. If you have a call number, if you had a Skype number that obviously that you pay for, but it's pennies.
Yeah. I mean, is it possible? Yes, but you're still going through a phone connection to their system. So it would still sound like a phone, I would think.
You would think. So
I mean, if I called you from my Skype onto your phone, it still sounds like a phone, doesn't it?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah, I guess you're right.
You know, so it would still sound like a phone. I mean, it's being received through a phone, through a phone switch.
Okay. So
I would think no matter what, it's going to sound like a phone.
So Blog Talk Radio, for those who host a show on Blog Talk, it sounds like you're doing it over your telephone.
'Cause you are.
So you're broadcasting over a telephone. You're calling into a system, and then you basically use your telephone as your mic.
Right. Fantastic.
So that's the quality you get.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So tell us a little bit about this show that we're going to experience.
All right. So after I found this guy, the liberal redneck, then I went the other way, and I found I did my search for metal, and I found, what is this called? Lord Zorg or something?
Yeah, it's called Planet Zorg.
Planet Zorg.
Yeah, Zorg.
Right. So the premise to this is Zorg is a cosmic entity that is here to take over control of Earth.
Okay, so he's like our Cerberus.
Yes. But he's also kind of being interviewed by whoever the host of this show is.
Okay.
Who shares his thoughts on metal.
So the host of this thing is playing a dual role. Is that what you're telling us?
Yes. He's hosting. He's doing an interview, and he's finding out, about metal from Zorg, who is trying to take over the planet Earth. That's.
So it's like interviewing a member of GWAR.
Sort of, yes. But not nearly as good.
All right.
Not even remotely as good.
So it's, yeah. So isn't that what GWAR is all about? Is that this, what did they call this planet? Scum?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a similar concept, although they don't, you'll hear. It's like the same context, I guess, except there's really no voiceover stuff or no pretending, or it just sounds like two guys talking, but they have this dumb premise. I was listening, I was like, what the fuck is this? It's interesting to say the least. And the production quality is stellar.
Well, of course it is. It's Blog Talk Radio.
Well, when you hear some of these edits, you're going to be like, "Woof!" It's gonna make your head hurt.
All right. All right. Well, let's check this out. This is called Zorg, or rather, Planet Zorg. Zorg.
Right.
All right. Here we go.
People get insurance for alien abductions, falling coconuts, and pirate takeovers. Crazy, right? What's not crazy is Domino's carry out insurance. We'll replace your pizza for free if something happens to it after you leave the store. Whether it's...
So Blog Talk can actually sell advertising?
Oh, yeah, they're selling ads. Dude, we need to start selling ads.
I guess.
if they can get ads for this shit, and that was why I left this in.
So Domino's, a huge conglomerate, is actually spending money on Blog Talk Radio?
Well, they see the power of advertising on Planet Zorg.
Okay.
And they threw their money down, dude.
All right, I'm just curious. I just didn't know that they actually had major sponsors.
Well, there you go. Dude, see, Planet Zorg has Domino's Pizza. What do we have?
Nothing.
Nothing.
All right, here we go.
All right.
It, or a pirate alien throwing coconuts at it. Carry out Domino's large 3-topping pizzas for $7.99 each. Carry out only. You must ask for this limited time offer. Prices, participation, and charges may vary. Insurance coverage for this promotion applies exclusively to Domino's Pizza LLC, its affiliates, and independent franchisees. Broader restrictions apply. Visit Domino's.com for more details.
Blog Talk Radio.
That's a hard edit right there. Click. Not a fade out. Just click.
And what's funny, dude, I listened to a couple other episodes, and he uses that same edit.
All right.
So that's not like a fuck up. That's like his intro.
All right. So no fade out. It's just click.
No. Just rewind that like 10 seconds and just do that one more time.
Promotion applies exclusively to Domino's Pizza LLC, its affiliates, and independent franchisees. Broader restrictions apply. Visit Domino's.com for more details.
Blog Talk Radio.
Episode of Planet Zorg.
Wow.
And we are joined once again by the mighty Zorg, conqueror of the puny planet, also known in some sectors as Earth.
All right. Very, very Guar-ish.
Yeah. Yeah. But wait till you hear Zorg.
All right.
That's just the host. Now he's introducing Zorg.
All right.
Wait till you hear this scary guy.
What's up, man?
Greetings.
So, yeah, I wanted you to give some of the listeners who aren't familiar with heavy metal. I know you're a fan. Are you not? Would you consider yourself a fan of heavy metal?
Yes.
Yeah. So if someone
that's it, just yes.
Yes.
All right.
A complete novice, where would they start with regard to this genre? I mean, who is the epitome of heavy metal?
The epitome of heavy metal? Well, that would be Black Sabbath.
I see. So Black Sabbath is the...
Wow, this is compelling.
And they did all this lead up with this fucking invading the planet and taking over the planet. What did that have to do with any of this shit?
I don't know.
I mean, forget the fact that the interview is not going anywhere, but, go with something, on our planet Zorg, we have, whatever, but here on Earth, they only have 40 years of heavy metal, and it started with something. Go with something. He's just like, hey, what's up? Yeah, heavy metal? Yeah, Black Sabbath.
Yes.
Yeah, you built up this character, and then you're just plain out not doing it. What the fuck?
Do you believe them to be the generator, the beginning of this genre?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there were other influences. Some people, the late Lester Bangs, notably, gave credit to Blue Cheer for their album Vincebus Eruptum, but I disregard because to me it's just...
What, you're breaking up there, Zorg.
Sorry,
on, Zorg. You need to get a better phone connection.
Yeah. Hey, he must have got his phone from the satellite known as Lynch.
Right. It's encountering some of the sunspots that are cutting out the signal.
That's right.
Really loud blues rock album. Some people give credit to Iron Butterfly for Inagata Devita, and I'm like, well, it's influential, but it lacks a few things that are essential to metal. And the most essential metal element is a tritone.
The tritone. Now, maybe you can point out, maybe I'm going to bring some of these songs that you mentioned in this podcast onto the next one, and then we'll look at some of the things in there. So maybe you can identify what that means. But maybe
that's the brown sound for those of you who aren't aware.
Yeah, but if you want, did you catch what he said? He said, I'm going to bring some of these songs that you talked about this week.
Yeah.
To show next week.
Right.
So that you can actually hear it.
Yeah.
So you're going to be compelled to listen again for another week.
Wow. So he mentions the tritone, and the guy is like, yeah, the tritone, that thing that you mentioned.
Yeah, that thing.
All right. Good for you.
You can explain it. Tritone. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. What do you mean by that? Because this is only a 40-year-old discussion.
Yeah.
About, eliciting a tone that is only known as demonic.
40 years old to you as an earthling, but on Zorg, this has meaning.
Okay.
Well, the tritone is it's not new. It's a musical interval composed of 3 adjacent whole tones. An example would be
Zorg is not very compelling.
Zorg doesn't have his ideas together.
Yeah, he has to sit there and think about it. Plus, he's got a big air conditioner running in the background.
Right.
It's got all that noise in the background.
Oh, dude, it's warm on our planet versus his planet.
Right.
FGGAAB. The best example is the guitar bit in the song Black Sabbath, and unfortunately my guitars are all in the other room.
The guitar bit?
That guitar bit.
It's a bit that they're doing. All right. What are they, comedy stand-up? I'm going to do the next bit here.
Yeah, here we go.
But let me get my guitar. It's in the next room. Just hang on a minute.
Yeah.
I'll get to it.
Oh, I don't know why he doesn't go get it. Sounds like he's walking around anyway.
Right.
It goes down, down, down.
Who else did that? I think that's Beavis did that, didn't they? Down, 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 down.
I knew you'd like this podcast.
Isn't that what Beavis and Butthead used to do?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a relationship between notes. And this isn't anything like that. Tony Iommi didn't invent this. This goes back to classical music and the introduction of melodic dissonance to classical music.
Hendrix did it. did some of that.
Oh, no, Hendrix did plenty of it, but Hendrix was totally not a metal musician, just like Paganini wasn't.
Right.
Really? Paganini?
Paganini and Hendrix.
Yeah. Quite a relationship there.
Yeah.
These guys know what they're talking about.
They got it together. These guys I haven't heard such compelling history of metal since that other guy that was giving us the tree.
Right.
Remember that guy with the tree?
It took him a whole podcast to get through 5 bands.
Right.
Because he kept going back and couldn't remember where he left off, and then he'd go back again.
Right.
But yeah, of course, Hendrix used all kinds of things, and I doubt if you were to have asked Hendrix, hey, man, are you using the tritone, he would have probably just looked at you funny, because...
Well, it's a progression of chords, right, that you're talking about?
No, it's a relationship of tones.
Yeah, you don't know what you're talking about, Earthling.
Yeah, you fucking simpleton.
Yeah, it's not a relationship. It's not it's not a progression of chords.
Yeah, dummy. It's a relationship of tones.
Yeah, pal.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, but then when you is heavy metal, are they known for down tuning the top line, the top or the bottom string or whatever? I'm not...
The top line or the bottom string?
Top line or the bottom string?
Well, which is it? Are they known for that?
I've never in my history heard of a guitar string known as the top line
or the bottom string.
Yeah, well, the bottoms. At least he's talking about a string.
Yeah,
the top line. What the fuck is that?
I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of down tunes. A lot of people go with drop D, which is basically you're leaving your tuning standard, except your bottom E string is tuned down a whole step.
Right.
But some people will tune every string down a whole step.
Yeah.
Some people will use very heavy strings, like 13s, and they'll tune.
Yeah, because those of you who don't play guitar, you have no idea what he means by they'll use 13s.
Right. They've got it.
So, and I'm not going to drag this out a whole lot. So, they make a whole show out of this?
Yeah. Like an hour and a half.
Really? It's amazing how you could drag it out that long.
Steven in the chat room is hitting this right on the fucking head. This guy is just an asshole trying to sound smart.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Bingo.
Everything's down like C. The thing is, when you do that, you can't just do that. You have to adjust the truss rod on your guitar. You have to alter your intonation, or you're going to get severe string buzz.
Yeah, Zorg, you're going to have to get a better phone.
Yeah, Zorg.
Because you're cutting out every other word, and I'm missing out on the wisdom that you're trying to impart on us lowly humans.
Yeah, and if you're going to do a show on Blog Talk Radio, use a fucking something other than a cell phone. Jeez.
So who did... Go ahead.
It's not that easy.
Right. Well, who did Black Sabbath grow up listening to that brought forth this sound? Who are their influences?
How old is that question?
What a good question after 50 years of the band.
Who's your influences?
Yeah, what's it been like to be in Black Sabbath?
Yeah, who influenced you in this band?
Yeah. How'd you get started?
Some of the people you mentioned, probably.
If I had to guess, it'd probably be various blues and jazz music.
Yeah, if I had to guess. So basically, you have no answer. You're just saying, well, maybe they listened to the Rolling Stones because they were out 6 years before Black Sabbath. Maybe they listened to the Beatles, but that's just my guess because they all hailed from England.
It could have been Elvis. It could have been the Beatles. It could have been someone else.
It could have been Chuck Berry.
Might have been Blue Cheer.
Yeah, it was my guess.
Yeah.
Thanks for the insight.
Tony Iommi, I think he had said.
I'm wondering, if they just got sick of stuff not being hard enough,
Really, they got sick of that
harder stuff. I mean,
the Beatles weren't rocking hard enough.
Yeah, pal.
Yeah, the Stones were only singing about a switchblade knife, even though that was cutting edge. See what I did there?
I do.
It wasn't hard enough.
You're way more cutting edge than this fucking podcast.
Wow. See, this is one of the things. I mean, you and I talk a little bit sometimes about some of the show premises.
Yeah.
But these two guys obviously had to sit there and think, we're going to put a show together, and this is what you're going to do. Right. I'm going to play the serious host, and you're going to play the part of Zorg.
Right.
Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you a series of questions regarding heavy metal.
Right.
And you're going to have the answers.
Yeah. But
that's a great show, man. I think people would tune in and listen to that.
Why do I think it went a little more like this, though? Dude, you're so fucking smart when it comes to heavy metal and guitars. I'm just going to ask you a bunch of questions, and we can really we can make some way here. We got this platform. It's international.
And it's free.
Yeah, and everybody all over the world's going to hear us. They're going to hear how smart you are about metal. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. That amazes me that anybody would go into this with any kind of a premise, thinking that this is going to be compelling.
I would like to know, in the history of Blog Talk Radio, who has ever listened to it?
I don't know.
Who goes to Blog Talk Radio and says, man, I got to catch that show on Blog Talk
Radio. It's like AM radio. Got so much great quality stuff available anywhere from YouTube to Spreaker to Slacker to whatever, tune in, and you're going to go listen to Blog Talk?
Well, they do have the liberal red deck.
Oh, okay.
But and they do have Planet Zorg. I mean, dude, there's probably 100 episodes of Planet Zorg out there.
Great. All right, I'm going to give us 5 minutes of this, and that's it.
All right.
Is that just the...
No, I think what happened was Tony Iommi...
Do you even know... See, again, and I'm not going to pick on Mark Strigel and John Astronomy, since we kind of, made things right with them.
Right.
But they're in that whole talking metal thing. I think what might have happened, or... what I'm thinking might have, it's like, well, when you're an authority, no, you say, this is what happened.
Yeah.
Like, what you're talking about. Not, I'm thinking.
Well, maybe
this might have been the case. Well, anybody can draw their own conclusions. You're not adding anything to the discussion at all.
Why you got to be such a hater on Planet Zorg?
Well, because I'm a liberal. I hate everybody.
I certainly wouldn't classify you as a liberal.
Well, I just wanted to, fall into the category of where, everybody's beneath me.
Right.
When he was a young man, he was working as a welder, and he had basically severed the tips to
what? Zorg, you're cutting out.
Zorg, get away from that fucking air conditioner.
Tony, at working welder.
And he thought, well, this is kind of fucked up, now I can't be Fred.
He did what?
Then he decided that he was going to make like these little thimble things.
Is that what he decided? He was going to make these little thimble things?
I think. I think that's what he did.
All right.
out of plastic and used them on the fingers of his spreading hand, which is his right hand. He's left-handed.
Are you sure?
No.
I think
so.
And he used these, but then he discovered that standard tuning didn't really suit him that well because of the kind of the action on the strings wasn't really ideal to that particular defect. Spreading
the action of the strings.
This guy is smart.
Yeah, he's on top of it.
He's got it together.
Who's to question Zorg?
That's right.
So he started experimenting with down tunes. I think, like, by the time they got to Master of Reality and Volume 4, I think they were using drop C tuning.
Are you sure? You think he did that?
I think it was drop B, personally.
Yeah. Could have been a high A. Or the top line or the bottom string.
These guys need a hiatus.
Right.
Jesus.
Interesting. Now
Interesting.
Interesting. No, it really wasn't.
Now all he needs to do is tap his pencil. Interesting.
Interesting.
There's a throwback for you.
Yeah, there's a 10-year-old fucking reference for you old timers.
Right.
So what we're saying here is that Metal may have been born of this defect in his hand that he...
It wasn't a defect in his hand. He cut his finger off.
Yeah, that's a defect in his hand.
It wasn't a defect.
Neeley.
Defect in his hand.
acquired
through an accident.
Yeah, it was a contributing factor for sure. I wouldn't necessarily say, whoa, that's what did it, but that's totally a contributing factor.
Yeah, no, it was a huge contributing factor because he had to learn to play differently because he cut the tip of his finger off.
Right.
It was like a an accidental happy accident.
Stop trying to outsmart Zorg, Neeley.
Sorry.
Come on.
These guys are terrible. No wonder you brought them to the show.
Only the best.
All right, one more minute.
All right.
So then he's, but the whole kind of philosophical thrust behind heavy metal.
A philosophical thrust?
Yeah, that's what I always want to know about.
All right.
Philosophical thrust of metal.
Right.
That's something that is definable?
Yeah, sure. There's always. I mean, there's some people will refer to things as metal that are really not, strictly speaking, metal. Like a lot of people will call Motorhead a metal band. Motorhead are not a metal band. They're a very hard rock band, and if you ask Lemmy, he'll say, we play rock and roll.
Yeah, but Lemmy's dead, so I don't think you can ask him now.
Oh, this is a little bit older. I'll give him a pass on that.
All right.
But Motorhead, with Ace of Spades, pretty much single-handedly created two subgenres of metal, speed and thrash. So you got to kind of give them, credit and put them on the dais with the other metal gods. You kind of have to.
The dais?
The other metal gods?
You got to put them on the dais?
That's what he said.
Isn't it a dais? What the fuck is a dais?
Don't question Zorg.
You're right.
And what is the who's the biggest metal act now besides Black Sabbath?
Chris, who's the biggest metal act now besides Black Sabbath? Besides Black Sabbath.
I don't think Black Sabbath is one of the biggest metal acts now.
Metallica?
I don't know. Slipknot? Didn't count them as metal. Slayer? Let's hear what Zorg has to say.
Oh, hard to say. I mean, the third and fourth generation acts are still pretty big. Like Metallica is still big. I'm not a big Metallica fan, but they still fill large venues and people buy their stuff. So yeah, I guess you'd have to say Metallica is pretty big. Priest, who have been around forever, is still huge, and Iron Maiden still tours. And a lot of people will like slag on Priest and Iron Maiden as kind of dinosaur acts that basically tour their old material. But everyone who's been around for a while does that, and Priest actually does tour their new albums.
Well, hey, if they have a lot of good albums, it's not like the Rolling Stones have like come out with really great later albums. I mean, it's just
actually, the Rolling Stones' later albums are totally good. You just can't compare them in
I
terms
see what you mean.
of being iconic to their earlier stuff. There's no comparison.
Well, it's tough.
All right, thanks, Zorg. Wow.
Is that all you can handle?
That's all I can take. That's wow.
Glad I could bring you something new.